Hi everyone, so I'm actually here uh, making this rather late night video. It's actually almost nearing 1 a.m. actually, so over here. But yeah, I just basically came back from running some errands and also, yeah, doing my stuff. So I just want to actually make this video about narcissistic abuse triggers because I actually just came across something that was put up online by another YouTuber in the area of narcissistic abuse. Okay, I wouldn't really name the YouTuber because partially I think it's also trying to be fair to her and what she was being accused of. I mean, now that I've kind of known her for a while, I mean, even if not directly, but at least indirectly via her channel and the amount of extended harassment and abuse that she sometimes gets from misogynistic um, men and narcissistic trolls online, claiming that she's actually crazy or whatever for claiming certain things about narcissists, and that she's actually blank, blah blah blah. Okay, I don't really believe those accusations of her after having taken part in a number of her her live chats and her also watched quite a number of her videos. And I would be actually I would believe that she's more a victim, but there was something that she actually did when talking about those those false accusations that people were leveling against her, that she has blank eyes and that she had, I mean, which wasn't really true. And I mean, as she actually clarified via her psychologist and whether, I mean, her psychologist and whatever was being done and said, those were actually more, I mean, the whole premise of social avoidance and her tendency not to show emotions to some people, especially when outside. These are all trauma symptoms. And there was one point where she actually broke down and cried because she was talking about how when she actually looked at pictures of herself, the the, the former self, before she actually got abused narcissistically by different guys and different exes or different people that she had met in the past other than her own family members. I mean, yeah, she broke down crying about crying, and I kind of realized this, that with a lot of us, that I mean we do that. I mean I as a personally as a survivor of narcissistic abuse myself. I mean, a lot of people don't really look at the amount of work we have to go through, and the whole struggle that we deal with. I mean, people would think otherwise because I mean, as an acquaintance told me himself, based on my Instagram, which is actually about the more positive things concerning my uh, lifestyle in fitness, working out, bodybuilding, physique, traveling, my family on my sister's side, yeah, and everything else. So, and even my positive exploits in life. Um, as that acquaintance had told me, some this other acquaintance told me on Instagram. He told me that most people are still very visual and physical in the way we look at people. We look at the the good side, whether they're happy, whether they're good looking, whether they are putting forth basically a pretty picture of themselves, and we don't see the person behind, and that's pretty true. And okay, I know that for those who actually know me for a while, you all probably know that I was in the fitness industry for a very short while. It wasn't even exactly one full year in it. It was like less than that, probably around, I would say, 6 to 7 months. 6 to 7 months. And it was a very disastrous stint. Yeah. Last year, I was commenting on something that an acquaintance that I had met, who's actually now still a personal trainer, um, in the industry. I left a remark about one of his posts concerning fitness, body image and everything, and he actually said something, which it kind of links to the idea of narcissistic abuse triggers and what people see on the surface. He said, "Oh, but he said, Kevin, you and in your 40s." He met me when I was actually just 40 years old, and now I'm actually I'm going to turn 47 soon. Uh, he said this. He said, Kevin, in your 40s, you have the physique and body of a 20-year-old or 20-something-year-old, and you look so young, almost like your 20s. You can kind of deceive and bluff people. People will believe that you are 20. Uh, but what I think that a lot of people don't realize, I didn't say much in relation to his compliment. It's a compliment after all, but the truth is that a lot of people don't see the struggles that we go through as survivors of narcissistic abuse. And I myself, I know for one that from the time I was abused and then I got out of it, and I wasn't really getting out of it, but I was discarded, and then I was still being hoovered and harassed by people linked to the narcissist, or even encountering other narcissists as well. um, it just it dawned on me that actually was like, yeah, even what the psychologist had told me before was quite true. 6 long years of trying to heal from the abuse. Yeah. And no one looks at that, the work that we have to put in, the inner work, other than the physical work that I have to do. I have to take care of myself, just like self-care in my skincare, whatever, I'm doing. uh, it's not just the self-care. It's not just visiting a doctor, a dermatologist or doctor for some skin ailments, or even scalp ailments that came after narcissistic abuse. It was also the inner work, coming to face my own insecurities, my fears, and what led me to be vulnerable to narcissistic manipulation and abuse. No one sees that. Yeah, not unless they are as empathetic as me. And other people and who are empaths. And even then, there's also a possibility that the person who can see that work that is going on could also be a narcissist or predator. You never know. So yeah, I just wanted to actually talk about that division, between the what you see and the reality of it. And beyond that kind of brings me back to the whole idea of the pictures that other YouTuber, the female, had seen of herself in the past before she was abused, and how much happier she was. um, I actually realized that I myself, I actually have a lot of pictures of my time when I was studying in Canada, from that was from 2006 to 2010. Yeah, that was in my late 20s and early 30s. Also my 2.5 years working in Japan, the multiple trips that I made to Korea while I was actually still working and living in Japan as an academic, and even like 3 months in Australia, which were not really successful as and part of an attempt to actually immigrate to Australia, partially due to a failure to find work in my field, and also a very terribly hostile living situation involving racism and narcissistic and abusive roommates. Yeah, I mean, it just kind of realized. I mean, I was even then I was still, yeah, I was happier before I came back to Singapore. So, and before I met that one narcissistic ex who triggered the whole string of encounters with um, various narcissists, including the flying monkeys, also an ex-boss who was very narcissistic and possibly even dangerous because she was actually trying to use uh, certain things like determination against me, when in fact she was the one being unethical about it. Yeah, and various things. Yeah. uh, I remember that actually when I was actually a few weeks, no, a few months back, actually before I even flew to Korea, it was actually in the middle of this EMDR session with a psychologist. I actually told her on what happened. I met her on Wednesday, but Wednesday or Thursday, yeah, one of the weekdays, and I told her actually 1 or 2 days before the session that I was actually sorting out my pictures of travels in Vancouver and predominantly pictures of travel elsewhere while I was still a student in Vancouver. I mean Burnaby actually. I mean one of the cities in the metro area back in 1999. Yeah, I mean it was a very short-lived exchange program while I was a university student in Singapore. But I went to that was my first trip ever overseas to another country. Yeah, and to actually to Canada. Which explains why I actually went back later on for my PhD. Um, I'm that while sorting out those photos on my on the CD, I remember that I actually started thinking, I was really happier before all the narcissistic abuse happened, and yeah, in the middle of that thought, that rumination, that thought, just a random thought, I suddenly started having a trigger. Uh, it was a narcissistic abuse trigger because my heart started racing pretty fast, and then I was like, that's when your mind starts thinking, what did you do wrong? What did I do wrong? Um, and my hands got very clammy and sweaty. I mean, as if I was anticipating some form of conflict that was going to come along. And yeah, it wasn't the best kind of situation that I was getting into I mean, when it got triggered. I mean, the memories of the abuse. I mean, it was just like a positive thing with the photo. I mean, the photos of the happier times. I mean, it is a wish for something that was like, I think that I was very innocent or more positive in life. There was something very childlike even when I went to Canada. I mean, let me just looking at that one picture of myself when I was in my my second year of the university. I was barely, goodness, I think I was 22 years old. It was like more than 2 decades. Yeah, I think it was 22 or 23 years old. I was so young. I'm nowhere near the current me that I see, and people who look at that will say, wow, you look so young, you were like a kid, like a teenager, who just like, grew taller and everything. And but that was precisely when the triggers happen, and yeah, when the clamminess of the hands and the racing heart, and then of course the particular dream of a delay, the whole idea of I mean, I had a dream of a missed trip to London drugs, yeah, the London drugs pharmacy, which was just behind church in Calgary, and also in oh our detour. Yeah, it reminds me of the very fact that I even couldn't. I mean, during the time when I was recovering from abuse, I couldn't. I couldn't have the money. Yeah, I lost all my money. I had to restart from scratch, all my savings, and I had to actually, yeah, I had to save up all again before I could have the money to fly back even into Australia for a short while. Uh, so yeah, I mean there are all these regrets and everything that came up during the trigger. So okay, but I mean I'm going on a long rant and detraction from what I was trying to say, but okay, I just want to talk a little bit just about this whole thing about abuse triggers and how they really affect you. And I think in the past I probably would have broken down, and I did break down. I broke down once in front of a friend, um, and then not just once. I think a few times. I mean, the breaking down is sometimes in terms of crying. I was wondering why I did, why I had to go through that, and then that was just right after the discard. Yeah, that was I think July 28, 2016. Yeah, in the afternoon. I didn't go there. I didn't go anywhere. I actually just broke down and cried in front of a friend, telling her about what happened, and that was about probably slightly more than 1 hour after that discard, and another few or the other occasions, like including talking to one buddy about it and being so angry, and all this actually just reminds me of what I've read from the book by Pete Walker, From Surviving to Thriving, which actually outlines the 4 different trauma responses. I won't summarize everything just like that. I mean, it's a really thick book, and I haven't really finished reading much of. I mean, I read some units and everything, but Pete Walker's book is a really good book because it actually stresses the 4 different reactions. There's fight and flight. Yeah, fighting, preparing, anticipating a conflict. Flight, running away. But there are 2 other responses that he talks about, which we have not really paid much attention to in our culture. Um, the third one is to freeze. Yeah, the third trauma response is to freeze. When we go catatonic, we freeze because we don't know what to do. We just stop what we're doing. We don't know. Yeah. And the fourth one is called fawning, FAWN. Fawning is when we try to actually we try to flatter. Yeah, we try to flatter, and in the case of people who go through PTSD situations and trauma symptoms, it could involve things like trying to flatter your abuser, trying to compliment them, hoping that they might actually treat you better by you flattering them. But as we know, because abusers being abusers, they don't get happier. Even if they do, it's only for a short while. And of course, because it is a trauma response, it's not genuine. Yeah, it's not genuine. It's just to attempt to save yourself from experiencing further trauma. It makes it worse because sometimes these abusers will abuse you even more. Okay, I just want to actually talk a little bit more about these triggers, because um, having gone through all these triggers and also witnessed it in another person, like I saw that YouTuber breaking down in her video, and I kind of realized that like this is really unfair to us as a community of people who go through abuse by narcissists. And the narcissists are not human. They are demonic. They're all demonic and spiritually evil, spiritually, morally, ethically evil, because they derive their pleasure and joy and their happiness from breaking down other people who are actually deserving of happiness, not them. And yet, you know what society tells us to do? It tells us, just let it go, just move on. The thing is that if it's that easy to move on, why don't they do that themselves? They have not gone through it. They don't know what the hell we are going through. I have never seen, an abuse victim, a genuine abuse victim, saying that they have let it go, or that they can forgive and forget. Yeah, forgive and forget. That's the other thing. All these are used to gaslight and to guilt trip the victims. And the truth is that a lot of us simply we want a listening ear. We want people to understand that we need time to heal. And to heal is not actually forgiving our aggressors, because forgiving them does not even help. They do not change. They make things worse for us, in fact. And by our forgiving them, we are opening the doors further for them to come back into our lives. You know that when I was talking to my one psychologist who replaced the last one, the new psychologist, she just said something. She said, Kevin, you know that actually we don't actually encourage people to forgive someone like an abuser to heal. It's not actually necessary to heal by forgiving someone else. And I mean, the truth is, how can you forgive someone who is not repentant, who will never ever change for whatever they do, and in fact wants to destroy you? They don't. And your forgiving them is going to actually open a door. So she said something once. She said, maybe have you ever thought that that's what she said. Have you ever thought that maybe the reason why you are unable to forgive is because your brain is trying to protect you, okay? Because if you can just forgive and forget about that, you wouldn't remember the trauma, you wouldn't remember the lesson, you would not remember anything, you would not remember, and you would not be careful about the people you meet next time. So your brain, by choosing not to forgive, or finding it hard to forgive, is in fact trying to protect you. Yeah, it's trying to protect you to teach you that there are some things that you must keep on remembering, some lessons which are very important, and that there are certain kinds of people you have to be careful around. And what she said actually opened up my eyes. Yeah, I knew that by then that I wasn't wrong to choose not to forgive. I knew that it was not wrong at all, because I am unable to forgive. I am able to forget. And I'm not holding on. No, I'm not. Why is that to hold on when it never was wrong anyway? I'm not holding on to the person who abused me. No, I'm not. I'm just choosing to remember what I cannot unsee. And in fact, I think that this was the kind of lesson as well as to who I should allow into my very life, who will support me in my journey towards healing and growth. I realized that a lot of people who claim to be very religious, they were not keen on actually supporting. They don't bother. In fact, they think that I'm actually going to go to hell because I choose not to forgive the abusers. Yeah. And you know what? Think what you want. My life is actually much better without these people. Actually, in fact, you will think about it. Yeah, it's much better. And if someone tells you to reconcile with your abuser or to forgive them and move on, you know what? Screw them. Yeah. You have the right to decide what you want to do. Live your own life in defiance of these people. You know, the narcissist was the one telling you what you should do. Now, you're going to listen to people who claim to be good-hearted and telling you what you should do again, who prescribe to you. These people have no idea. Yeah. And yeah, I just want to go back to this whole thing about triggers, and everything. So, yeah, but I mean, the few things to take away. I mean, this thing about triggers, and you get triggered. I mean, I know that some people, they still get triggered even years later on. I still do get triggered as well. But I think that the intensity of the triggers have kind of it has actually abated or weakened a lot. And that is why because that's why therapy is so helpful, because it actually weakens a lot of the triggers. And the second lesson that I really learned was that precisely what I was saying just now. Um, there are some places, and like church or some social institutions which are not keen to see you heal by simply just working on yourself instead of uh, trying to reconcile. I mean, they'll do things like gaslight you, and because you choose not to forgive, and they say things like just move on. The problem doesn't exist. It's all in your mind. This is what some churches do. Um, this is not gonna it's not gonna heal you. Yeah, it's not gonna remove the triggers. What heals you is actually facing your own inner your inner fears, your inner shadow, your anxieties, your weaknesses, and becoming a stronger person. Yeah, which goes back to the story I told you all just now about that junior, the guy in his 20s who told me that I have the body of a 20-year-old and the face of a 20-year-old. He didn't understand the whole idea of struggle. So, but I think I can at least be proud to say that I think over the last few years I'm very happy with the way I level up as a person. So I just want to share that. I'm not being very chronological or organized here, but I want to assure everyone that you will get better. All you need, you really not all you need. It's not all you need to do, but you really have to start with uh, working on yourself. And to work on yourself, I think part of it also includes your triggers. I'm still working on them. Yeah, I know my triggers are in the form of flashbacks. Uh, I'm not sure what your triggers are. Maybe you all can just make a note about that and let me know. Okay. So anyway, I'm off. This video has been longer than I expected, and I'm gonna go sleep because it's actually quite late. Okay. So have a good one, everyone. Okay. Thank you. Bye bye.